Peace. Peace, peace, peace. I hope y'all having a good morning, a good day so far. If you are engaged with me daily, you know I get up in the mornings and I walk about 2 to 3 miles. So that's what I'm doing. And I thought, I left that video last night about my existential crisis thoughts up, and I wanted to expand on it this morning and talk about my encounters with spirit. I feel like that's a big part of what's missing from my page, and I really don't want to shy away from it anymore because it's a big part of my experience, my reality as in my life. I am constantly in contact with spirit, not only because I have a deep spiritual practice. I practice Ifa, which is a African traditional religion, but also because as long as I've been alive and as long as I've known, I have always had encounters with spirit. And when I say encounters with spirit, I mean something supernatural, what people would consider supernatural, what people would consider extraterrestrial, what people would consider, things of the unknown, things that they are not quite understanding. And my entire life, I have constantly engaged with spirit in a way, and I know that it's spirit and various different spirits because I ask questions because I'm a curious person. Peace. So I want to talk about my first encounter with spirit. It's kind of traumatic, but it's the first encounter that I remember. I was 4. My mom and I were in the house with others. And at the time, I was supposed to be finishing some kindergarten homework. And I was supposed to draw a table. But my 4-year-old brain wanted to draw a 3D table, with the legs and everything. Not like a little kid draws tables, like round and 4 legs and just going about a business. I wanted to draw a full-on table, like I could see in front of my eyeballs. So I was getting frustrated because I couldn't figure out how to create a 3D table. And the frustration, my mom was getting frustrated because I couldn't finish drawing this table. And it turned into an ass whooping. And the ass whooping turned into a huge incident that changed my entire life. And that was that the belt buckle slipped from my mom's hand and it ripped my right eye out. The encounter with spirit came when, I can remember jumping out of my body and watching the entire scene go down. I can remember me on the floor bleeding. I can remember all the chaos that erupted in the house. I can remember I'm floating above my body and I'm watching my mom run and call the ambulance, the fire department ambulance, and they don't come fast enough, so she calls a cab. We get in a cab. I'm following the cab to the hospital. I follow the cab all the way to the hospital, all the way to the operating room in my little body. And I can't feel anything. I know my body is in pain, but I technically cannot feel anything because I'm not in my body. I did what you call astroplaning so that I could save myself from the pain. And that was the first time that I encountered spirit, and it was my own spirit. And the only thing is, I remember after floating and seeing myself go into the operating room is waking up with a patch on my eye. And then that's a whole nother story. So that was my first encounter with spirit. And that's when I learned as a young child that I could leave my body and not have to deal with certain things, not have to engage in certain behaviors. And this led to a lot of traumatic events because sometimes something could be happening to me that was very bad, and I could just jump out of my body so it would not be like it was happening to me. It was just happening to my body. And it wasn't until I was about in my I want to say 24, that I realized that I can control it. And I started working on controlling it and using it in a way that was useful and helpful to me. And it's fun. Astral planing is amazing. It's an amazing tool to do healing work. It's an amazing tool to go and visit parts of your life to get clear stories and clear feedback. A lot of times I had jumbled stories in my head because the emotions was in the room. But if I could astral plane back to that moment, I could see clearly what happened in that moment and make a informed decision around managing the relationship with the other person or with myself in a different way. The second encounter I had with spirit, I was about 13. And no, that's not the second encounter I had with spirit. The second encounter I had with spirit was that I had an older sister who died, who was 2 years older than me, and she passed away literally the day I was born. And she haunted my dreams until I was 16. But that's a whole other encounter right there. So we're going to skip that and go to the encounter that I had where someone else was around. The third encounter I had with spirit was me and my sister. We grew up in D.C. and there's this place called St. Elizabeth's. Well, it doesn't exist anymore. But it was a place called St. Elizabeth's. And St. Elizabeth's was where they housed all the people in the area who had mental health issues. So it was a lot of different things going on in this space. And it's a historic space. They finally tore it down and they're building something over, which I think is horrible. But whatever. There's this place called, in every black neighborhood in the world, there's a Martin Luther King Avenue Jr. There's a Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue. We're walking up MLK, which St. Elizabeth is on. We're probably, now this is a story of my teenage, that I should have been like in the fucking house. But I was outside, me and my sister. It was like 1 a.m. We were walking from a friend's house to our home. And my sister is 2 years younger than me. We're walking past St. Elizabeth. And the wall is very long. It's a mental institution. So as you can imagine, it's very big. And it was like a stone brick wall that you got to walk past. And that kind of tells you when you're out of that territory, when that wall ends. So as we get to the middle of the wall, a man walks through the wall and he comes like beelines towards us. And I'm like, I see him. He has like a hole, like somebody shot a hole straight through his head. And I am like, what the hell? And my sister, I look at her and I say, do you see what I see? And she says, yes, it's a man right there. And I'm like, holy fuck, we're going to die. And we just take off running. Just start running until we are like nearly home. Again, we're 13 and 11 years old, so we're pretty fast. We stop and we look at each other and, good morning, ma'am. We described the whole incident to each other. And that was the first time that I seen a spirit and someone was with me and they saw exactly the same thing that I saw. And so it kind of confirmed for me that a lot of the things that I have been seeing in my dreams, I still have very vivid dreams, but that's different. It's different than when I was a kid. I just have very vivid dreams about the, what do you call that? Revelations and this mark of the beast and 666 and having to claim Jesus Christ as my savior or I'm going to die, and it was really intense youth that I had. And so when we saw that, I was like, okay, there's other things here. There are other things here. I'm not crazy. These occurrences in my life, I'm 13 and I just saw something that I should not have been able to see. And yeah, so I mentioned it to an old adult, and they said, somebody who I thought was wise, and they said, oh yeah, spirits all down there. People were tortured. Bad things happened there. You shouldn't be out there at night. And I said, it's like a graveyard. And I was like, okay. So put that in my box. I'm never going to walk past St. Elizabeth in the middle of the night again. And I didn't. My fourth encounter with spirit. If you don't know what I'm talking about encounters with spirit. I just wanted to talk about this because I don't think we talk about this a lot in a Black community because we think it's like creepy or spooky or dangerous. It can be, but for the most part, I haven't had any dangerous encounters. Weird, but not dangerous. So I want to say my fourth encounter with spirit. There was a guy when I was a kid, literally the next year at 14, I was abducted and brutally abused and raped. And this man, the person who did it, ended up being killed, not by me, but because he had a history of doing this to young girls. Someone ended up killing him. And when I knew he was dead. I knew he was dead for a while because some of the people who told me, knew what he did to me, told me he was dead. And there was this bus in DC that is like one of the buses that in DC that is like one of the longest rides ever. It's like insanely long. And it goes up Georgia Avenue. It's called the 70 bus. And I was on that bus. I was about 20 at the time. So we hopping from 13 to 20. So the next encounter, I was about 20 at the time. And I was on the bus. And I had fell asleep because the bus ride was so damn long. And I woke up like just in time before I missed my stop. And when I woke up, this man, who I know was dead, woke up and got off the bus. And as I was getting off the bus, this man, who I know has been dead, was dead since I was about 16 years old. So about 4 or 5 years he'd been dead, buried, was standing right on the street, looking me dead in my freaking eyeballs. And I literally almost, from the trauma of what I experienced with him, almost died on the spot. And the fact that I knew that he was a dead person. There's no way he could be standing here looking at me because he's dead. And he looked at me and he said, I am so sorry. I'm sorry. And then he just walked off. Like it was real, but he was not there. And I am not crazy. So I took it as his spirit in the afterlife realized the horrible things he had done and was at unrest. And he caught me slipping, and I was in his area. I was in an area where he roamed and in real life. So he was able to catch me in that void that spirits walk between life and death. And that really solidified for me that spirit is real. To have someone who in real life tried to kill me, and I know is dead, come back and apologize for the deed that they committed against me. It shook me to my core, and it made me really start delving into spirit and trusting all these things that I was seeing and understanding that I couldn't share with a lot of people because most people don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. A lot of people don't have encounters with spirit. I realized that as I shared my stories with other people, that it was like, whoa, you had what? And I became a sort of a home for a while for spirits. Wherever I would go, wherever I would live, whatever spirits were there after this meeting with this man, whatever spirits were there would just hang out with me, hang out in my room, to the point where I would have to talk to them and say, I'm tired. I don't want company. I don't want you in my room. It's a lot. You're driving me crazy. There's one group of spirits when I lived with this woman who was from Trinidad that lived in her basement. And I rented her basement. And every night, they would just be having a grand old fucking time, and I'm trying to sleep. And some of them were like not human. Some of them were like impish, fairy-ish, little bodied spirits, not full bodied human spirits. But they weren't malicious. They were tricksters, and they played a lot. And they were exhausting. And I literally had to move out of her basement because I had no way to get rid of these spirits that lived in her basement with me. And she didn't seem to notice them. And when I would breach the subject, she would look at me like I was insane. So I was like, okay, I have to move because clearly she doesn't know that these things live in her house. And the most memorable encounter with spirit, other than the ones that with my ancestors, is another basement rental. When you're in DC and you're young, basements are cheap. So I ended up renting a lot of basements when I was in my 20s. Because, I was good with roommates. Very particular person. And but in this basement I had a girlfriend. Those of you who don't know, I'm bisexual. So me and my girlfriend, we rented this basement, and there was a woman, a black woman. She was a spirit. I don't like to call people ghosts because ghost implies that they're not embodied. And they are embodied. They are spirits. You can feel them. They can touch you. They can talk. They're real. They're not fake. You know what I mean? But there was this woman. It was like a woman. She always had on like a green and yellow and blue dress like they used to wear in like the 30s and 40s. She was black. And she always had her hair pinned up neatly. And she would always come and sit on the edge of our bed in this house. And sometimes she would lay down next to me. She wasn't very intrusive, so I didn't really get frustrated with her. But almost every day she came and she would come out and she would come and sit at the bed or lay down next to me. And I didn't think anything of it. I told my partner at the time, I was like, hey, there's a spirit that lives here. And she thought I was fucking bonkers. She was like, bitch, no fucking ghost. That's how she said, I don't believe in ghosts, bitch. And I was like, okay, well, that's why you can't see her, because you don't believe. But she here. So we broke up and I moved out. And she got with another one of our friends. And I'm minding my business, minding my whole entire business, living my life. I think I'm like married now and pregnant. And they call me. And she's like, did you tell such and such about this woman? I see her every day. And I was like, yeah. For the whole entire year and a half that I lived there, she was there. And she was like, oh my God, yeah, she's still here. This woman still is here in the room. And she comes every day and I don't know what to do. And I was like, well, she's not violent. Just ask her to leave. I think she just finds it's something there that, but if you ask her to leave, I feel like she'll leave. And that was another confirmation from a whole nother person who I didn't know this woman technically at the time. She was dating my ex-lover, and we were friends because of that, because I'm that type of person. I don't care if you date someone who I used to date. I don't give a fuck. It's not my business. It's not my problem. I'm not dating them. So, we're cool. And, we talked about it often. She would tell me the encounter she had with her. And that was another confirmation from another person that spirit is alive. Spirit moves. Spirit is with us all the time. There is no way that we are here by ourselves. We're not here by ourselves. And having all these confirmations throughout my lifetime of other people who seen spirits that I've seen or whatever really grounded me in that I could see spirit. And that some spirits would engage with me. Not all, thankfully. Some spirits would engage with me. There are other encounters that I haven't mentioned during this video that were kind of violent encounters with spirit. And the main reason I won't mention those is because I think those are less possible than all the ones that I mentioned in this video, which were good, kind, decent encounters with spirit. In the times that I had male violent encounters with spirit, I was around people who were male violent. And so I believe that those spirits were attached to those people, and they thought that they were protecting those people by attacking me. So, that's my morning talk about spirit and how it's here. I wanted to talk about this for such a long time, but I hadn't known how to because, again, like I said, most black people think that you're off your rocker if you say you saw a spirit or that you talked to a spirit or touched a spirit, because they have not done it. But you can do it. And I feel grateful, honestly, that I'm such a safe space for these people, entities that are trapped here in this realm, because this is a realm. And I just pray for them that they are released and they get to go to their next experience, that they don't get stuck here and have to keep repeating contact with humans in order to leave, because most humans don't know what to do to help spirits on their way to journey to the next realm. And that's why I always say you cannot be sorrowful about anything or regretful about anything in your life. The regret is like a tether to that experience in this lifetime. And if you are tethered to an experience in this lifetime, when you pass, it will be hard for you to leave. When your physical body no longer exists in this realm anymore, it will be hard for your soul to detach from this realm. And you need your soul to detach from this realm so that you can go and do whatever it is you're supposed to do next. Not be stuck here trying to repeat a pattern or fix a pattern that no longer exists. So If y'all see a spirit, have encounters with spirit, I just want you to know you're not crazy. That spirits are real. They exist. Hey, baby. And that they, for the most part, are harmless. For the most part, most spirits that I've encountered are harmless. They got a mission. They're on their business. They don't really have, they're not really here trying to bother us. Like a lot of people try to make it out to be that spirits are here attacking people and everything. I think those encounters are less likely. And again, like I said before, the spirits that I've encountered that were violent, I think were attached to people who were violent. And they were protecting. They thought they were working in protection of those people. So I hope this was helpful. I'm going to save this, and I want to talk more in depth about encounters with spirit, because I think it's something that is necessary, and especially these times. Like Lions Gate is opening, portals are open right now. The Lions Gate is happening, portals are open. Spirits are walking in and out of here like 7-Eleven. But because we don't think that anything is greater than us, humanity thinks that they're the greatest thing that was placed upon this planet. They can't seem to engage with anything in a decent and kind way. And so I don't think a lot of people have as many encounters with spirit as they could. And I for the one time, with the guy, that encounter with spirit was super healing. It was scary as fuck because he was supposed to be dead, and he was dead, but it was healing. And years later, when I think about that, I feel resolved around our encounter in the real world. And in this realm, and when he was alive. I don't want to say the real world because there's several real worlds that I engage in all the time. I went somewhere last night that I didn't know existed. And when you allow your body, when you get so in touch with your body that your body becomes just it's just a place for your soul to live in. You can detach from it anytime you want. That's what the astral planing is that I described earlier on in this video. Peace. That's what the astral planing does. When I realized I could astral plane and that I could do it anytime I wanted, that I could lift up my soul, detach my soul from my body and go anywhere in the world without taking my body, it really relieved me of a lot of things. And I have been able to do so much healing work because of that. Because I'm so not attached to my body and I'm not afraid of leaving my body. A lot of us are so afraid of leaving our body. We're so afraid of death. We're so afraid of everything that encounters the body. The body is fake. It's not real. I know it feels real. I know it does. I know when I say that, it's like, what are you talking about? But it's like the least dense part of ourselves. Our spirit is way more dense and way more evolved than our bodies are. And tapping into that energy and being able to use that energy in a way like astral travel and movement in a certain kind of a way allows us to create so much more than what we can create in our bodies. So I hope this was helpful. I'm going to hop off. If y'all don't have any questions, I know this was a lot and you probably don't have any questions because astral planing, talking to spirits, laying in the bed with spirits, spirits coming back from the dead to apologize for wrongdoings. It's kind of heavy at 8 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, spirit is real. Spirit is real. Just as real as this flesh. All right, y'all. Y'all got no questions. I'm going to hop off here and finish my walk because I'm dedicated to these 2 miles. Peace.